Welcome to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage Texans to drop everything and read. Your hostess for today's show is Denise Bryson.
Welcome, everyone, to Dear Texas Radio Show. And, of course, we encourage all of our Texas readers, everybody from Texas, to drop everything and read. And I am excited today. I'm interviewing R.S. Dabney, the author of The Soul Mender and The Peacekeeper. And so this is two books of a part of a trilogy. And so we're excited to get into these mystery novels. And how are you doing today, Ms. Dabney?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about my book.
Yes, I am too. And so where are you from originally? I know, but I would like our audience to know exactly where you're from and how you got started with writing.
Yeah, so kind of all over the place. I was born in Virginia, lived there for 3 years, and then grew up in southern Utah, spent my childhood kind of running around the deserts there, and then moved to Austin and went to middle and high school in Austin, and then have kind of traveled all over Texas, and now I live in Terlingua out in the Big Bend area of Texas in the middle of nowhere. So have kind of been all over, and I started writing at a really early age. First grade, second grade, I have a bunch of little books I did as a kid. I'd write them, I'd illustrate them, and then through middle school, I wrote some really silly poetry that nowadays I read and it's just terrible, but back then it was really good in my mind. But I always wanted to write a novel, and so when I got into college, I actually sat down and wrote the first part of The Soul Mender, and then put it away for about 4 years. I graduated, got a job, and so life sort of took over. I got married, and my husband and I moved away for his career, and I thought, well, this is the perfect time to actually sit down and kind of fulfill this dream. And so I spent one summer and wrote The Soul Mender, and then spent 3 years trying to get it published, and finally last year got it published and wrote my second one and have published that one now as well.
Oh, wow. That's exciting. And so could you tell us just a little bit about the Soul Mender? Could you tell us a little bit about the trilogy and then about your first book, and then we'll talk about the second one a little later. But could you start us out talking about The Soul Mender? As I was reading it, I was getting excited to hear what's really going to happen. So it's really exciting and it seems a good read where it's just kind of a page turner because you want to know more and more and more about it. So could you give us a little snippet about what the book is about?
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm excited that you're enjoying it. The Soul Mender is, in the whole trilogy, is kind of set in a modern-day fictitious America world. And it sort of explores the duality of man and the good and evil within each of us. My main character is a 22-year-old girl just graduating college, sort of in the same spot I was when I started writing this. And she, through a series of unfortunate events and kind of curious happenings, ends up in a parallel universe and comes face to face with the other half of her soul, the other half of a man who tried to kill her, and sort of has to come to terms that everyone has both a good and bad side, including herself. And so the story focuses on things that weren't supposed to be necessarily happening in our world right now, but sort of current events on a global scale, the different good and evil, and then on an individual scale, the good and evil within everyone. So, Riley, when she gets into this parallel universe, meets the other half of her soul who is the total opposite. And then on the bigger scale, in one world you have the conflict with the U.S. and the Middle East, and the Middle East is the one who is conducting the terrorist attacks, and in the other world it flips and it's the U.S. doing that. So you sort of have everything twisted inside out and kind of a different perspective and look at what is good and what is evil.
Wow. And so, now what prompted you to write this particular book? I know some of our authors always say, well, then I started hearing these characters talking, and so I began to write based upon that. Is that kind of your experience, or did you write it basically from a hero or heroine type of perspective?
Well, when I started, sort of the idea for wanting to explore that good and evil in everyone. I was in college, and I was noticing a lot of people who I felt weren't empathetic or understanding of people who were different from them in a lot of ways. And so you had a lot of anti-Muslim sentiment. You had a lot of just coming from a kind of easy family life where I had great parents who took care of me, paid for my school. I knew people like that who kind of thought that people coming from the south side of Chicago should have they should be in an equally same place. And so they didn't understand or empathize with the struggles that other people had. And so I wanted to write a book that sort of took a look, like I said, on the individual scale of understanding, like, for instance, Riley comes from a good family, always had everything she needed, and when she meets the other half of her soul, his name is Oz. Oz didn't have that. Oz was into drugs. She had to prostitute to make money. And at first, Riley is very judgmental of Oz and very hard on her for the choices she's made in life, but kind of comes to learn about her and realize that they just came from different places, and that doesn't mean one, it's sort of understanding the good and bad within yourself. But I was tired of the negativity sort of that was surrounding me, and so I wanted to write a book almost as a way for me to sort of get out my feelings about this. It definitely changed as I started writing it. I was really into Twilight when I first started, so initially this started out as a first-person romance, and I really changed that when I went back to rewrite. There's still a little romance, but it's more about the relationship between the two girls and something bigger than that. Again, as I'm on this third book, it's definitely evolved over time. I'll start writing something, and the characters sort of take me off in a totally different direction, and I go with it, and I'm really happy with where the story is going. So I have plans, but I will finish it off.
Now, what about Gabriel? I want to know like typical
and that continues on through the second book some. In the third book, I'm about halfway done with the third book, and I do know Gabe's and Riley's ultimate fate. But you get to see, especially in the third book, some more of the backstory with Gabe and why he is the way he is, why some of his circumstances are the way they are. So that is developed a little more, and I am excited for what happens with Gabe in the third book.
Yeah, me too. I'll be excited to hear to read that as well.
Yeah, I know that's a long time to wait, but bear with me, and I promise I will give you a satisfying wrap up of Gabriel Hart's character.
So now, what is now who are you targeting as far as marketing for somebody to read this book, or is it something? Do you have like a target group of people that you feel like that this book is really speaking to, and so would you what age group would you think that would say, well, I think they would read it? Because sometimes I think as authors we don't really know that sometimes, and so that's something that I think is important for us to know so we can push it to the right market, and then whoever else gets it, reads it, is a blessing. So, but have you marketed from that perspective?
Yeah. So, again, I started writing this when I was just about to graduate college. My main character is in college, and I think that age group is really overlooked in a lot of ways. But my target is, I'd say, 18 to 30-year-olds. And so, you have books that are for young adults. You have books that are for adults. And I think as time has gone on, there's this group in between where kind of adolescence has been extended that I think there's a huge market for. And they have this genre of new adult, which covers that age range, but it's really heavy sex and romance. Thus far, that's kind of what the books coming out has been. So I would like to see that genre expand and include that age range for all genres of book, because I do think that market of 18 to 30-year-olds is huge and often overlooked. But that's kind of my main target audience for this trilogy, because it is sort of a graduating from school, coming out into the real world. And granted, the struggles and the obstacles are totally different than what normal people face. It's still about finding yourself and growing up and maturing. And I think there's definitely a market for books like that for that specific age range.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a break, and we're going to hear from our wonderful sponsors, and then we will be right back, and we'll discuss more the Peacekeeper. We'll be right back with R.S. Dabney. Thank you.
In their 2017 award-winning techno-thriller series, Brakefield and Berkey take you on an engaging journey as cyber good guys duel against cyber assassins using technology, today's weapon of choice. Whether your cyber threat is fighting for your lost identity, struggling with a mutant computer virus, or being outmaneuvered by a digitally enhanced gaming avatar, you will enjoy this book series individually and collectively. EnigmaSeries.com will take you through a doorway into the digital combat of the 21st century.
Dear Texas would like to thank our sponsors. McKinney, Texas has a rich history, one it embraces and loves to share with visitors. Nowhere is this more evident than McKinney's historic downtown with more than 100 eclectic shops and eateries to explore. Situated just 30 miles north of Dallas, McKinney offers the perfect getaway from the urban hustle. For more about McKinney, check out www.visitmckinney.com or call 888-649-8499. The third annual short story contest begins March 1st and runs through July 31st. Enter your short story for a chance at prizes and getting published. To learn more about this annual event, please visit our website at txshorts.com. Dear Texas would like to invite you to the McKinney Square Book Festival on June 3rd, 2017. The event will be held at the Performing Arts Center from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Meet 40-plus Texas authors, many of whom have won awards. Special events will take place during the day, and a special musical guest, Billy Dawson, will perform at 2 p.m. For more information, please visit our website, mckinney.deartexas.info. Wimberley Valley Tourism welcomes people to explore the many fine shops, restaurants, and wineries that make Wimberley special. More at wvtla.com. From concept to casting, recording to post-production, Spoke Media is dedicated to creating a superlative listener experience. www.spokemedia.io. EBG 247, where you can find ebooks galore 24 hours, 7 days a week at ebg247.com. Welcome to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage Texans to drop everything and read. Your hostess for today's show is Denise Bryson.
Hello, and welcome back to Dear Texas Radio, where we have been talking to the author, R.S. Dabney, and she is the author of The Soul Mender and The Peacekeeper. Hello, Robin, we're back.
Wonderful, I'm here.
Now, could you tell us about the second book in this three-part series called The Peacekeeper? Could you begin to tell us something about that and let us know what the storyline continues as we continue with Riley and her storyline?
Yeah, so I'm going to try to do this without giving away too much of the story.
Yes.
But the Peacekeeper picks up where the Soul Mender ends, and so for those who have read the Soul Mender, I sort of left you on a big cliffhanger there, and the Peacekeeper jumps right in, and so Riley, a lot of the characters are in pretty bad situations, and Riley stay at home, life is don't exist, or go out and try to save some of these people who have become her friends. And so she takes off back into the other world, and we meet a whole new cast of characters the group gets down to Mexico, where they were trying to get in the initial story, and meet some new individuals down there to train with them and help them move forward. We've got Bad Jackson Kane, President of the U.S., who's up to all kinds of no good. Bad Detective Rutherford, who is also up to all kinds of no good, and they do cause a lot of problems. I think the second book gets a bit darker, especially toward the end, which I think books like this do. You start to lose some people. You start to have big decisions that have to be made, and especially when you're dealing with subjects as tough as terrorism and power-hungry individuals who are willing to do anything to get power. You sort of have to break away from just the story and go into places that are a little darker. But I think you really see, some struggles with Riley for sure, but also some growth. And then I leave you again with some big cliffhangers just to have a great place to start for this third book.
Now, what was your favorite character to write?
So I was asked this at an event in Austin last year, and this is one of my favorite questions. Really, my favorite character to write, excuse me, is Oz, who is Riley's other half. And she's the one who, when people meet her in the story, swears a lot, is in heroin withdrawal, has had to do whatever she can to survive in life. She was molested as a child. She's a really deep and dark character that initially, as I said earlier, Riley sort of looked down upon. But as I write Oz, she has a strength about her that she's had to develop, and a resilience. And she speaks her mind about absolutely everything she wants to. So it's fun to write strength and everything that shows through her. But I also say the words that I can as an autistic being. I can say the swear words, the things I want to about certain things. And so she provides me a voice of, I don't know, just getting to say whatever. But she's so much deeper of a character than I think one initially thinks. And so to see her growth and development as well it's really fun for me to write. And she's one of those characters that really kind of takes on a mind of her own as I am writing, and has taken me places I did not know I was going to go with the story. So again, that just makes it all the more exciting for me as a writer.
I can imagine. Now, what is the mantle of Electa?
Well, let's see. Again, without trying to give away
too much of the story away. Yeah.
Without saying the end of, or what that is, you do find that out at the end of book 1.
Okay.
But Riley has I hate to say the word destiny. It's more of an inherited burden, because it's not necessarily her destiny, of being the Electa. And I don't exactly want to say what that means or what it comes from, but basically it's a woman, and it's tied to the Soul Mender, the title, whose responsibility it is, because of past circumstances, to fix the world. She has the option, now that she's seeing that there's two halves of our universe. She has, and they're sort of rushing to this colossal ending, which, it's unfortunate of how relevant it sort of seems nowadays. But Riley has this opportunity to save humanity from that. She has this opportunity to mend the souls, to mend these two universes together. And that's who the Electa is. And I don't want to say too much about what that comes from, but the mantle of Electa is the responsibility, basically, of saving humanity.
Wow. So it's really interesting. Have you ever thought about doing a trailer for your books and things like that? Some of those types of other marketing tools that would help broaden the perspective on the book. Have you ever thought about doing that? Or what is your take on those types of tools?
Yeah, no, I think that's great, and I'm very lucky to have an awesome marketing team who helps me with a lot of that. And we put together last fall, maybe December, sometime last fall, a really great trailer actually for the trilogy already, and that's I posted it a few times on social media, but it's on YouTube. We have some ads running with that. But I think book trailers are so cool, and again, targeting that audience I talked about before. My generation, we like videos, we like YouTube,
yes.
We like short, action-packed things that we can scroll through on Facebook, and so we did create that, and I think that's a neat tool that authors are starting to use, and I've seen a lot of them popping up. But if anybody wants to check it out, you can just go to YouTube and type in the Soul Mender Trilogy, and it should pop up with that teaser trailer that we've got.
Okay, that is great. And then what is your now? Where can we buy the book?
So the book
Where
is
can
available.
we get your book?
On Amazon, of course. I have it on ebook, paperback, and hardback on Amazon. You can order it through Barnes & Noble. You can order it off my website. Pretty much anywhere, any online retailer. There's a small independent bookstores that carry it, but probably your best bet is online.
Okay. And, of course, they can get it at texasauthors.com as well. The books, they can get them there, too. And then where can our listeners find you? What social media aspects are you on?
Yes, so I use Facebook, RS Dabney, Instagram, Twitter. My handles for those are at RS Dabney Author. Those are probably the three I'm the most active on. I do, on my website, write a blog that I try to post once a week. Sometimes I'm not so good about it, but then we share that on my social media. It's, you write, and then you have little homework writing assignments, and sometimes your brain just has written enough.
Yes.
But, yeah, I'm all over Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, my website. Those are probably the main ones that I use.
Okay. Now, what would you say to a new author coming up about how if they're writing a mystery novel and how to what they need to do to try to get things published? I know you said it took you 3 years to get it published, and so what were some of the and we have a brief time left, but what were some of those trials that you came across in that process?
The thing, and I read this, and I didn't know many authors at the time when I was trying to get this done, but I did read, and they were right, that you can't say it enough, patience and perseverance, because you're going to get rejections. Not everyone will like your book. You'll have somebody that thinks this is the best thing on the planet and somebody who thought it was just garbage, and you can't help that. You can't let that get you down, and you can't let the rejections get you down. A lot of these agents and folks will get 40,000 submissions a year, and they pick 5, and sometimes it's what they ate that morning. So you just have to keep going and knock on every door you can. Utilize every avenue, every person who's willing to help. Meeting other authors is a fantastic thing. I joined a critique group probably a year and a half into it, and I'm still with them. But they elevated my writing. They gave me confidence. They gave me a camaraderie that I really needed. And so I think that's another piece is don't be afraid to share your work with others because they can only help you make it
I believe you'll win. And so it has been such a pleasure getting to interview with you and chat with you, and And we have been talking to R.S. Dabney, and she is the author of The Soul Mender and The Peacekeeper. And it has been such a pleasure talking to you and just hearing about your books and these written masterpieces, as I'm calling them, that you have written, and that and I'm telling you, you want to go out and get it. And so she's working on the third one. So if you go get the first two, you can get those read. So by the time the third one come out, you'll be ready for it. And so they're masterpieces is what I'm calling them. And thank you so much for your time on the show. Go ahead.
I greatly appreciate your words and for having me on there. The third book should be out early 2018. So if people do get hooked, I'm going to have it out quickly, I promise.
Get hooked. Well, they will be hooked on it. I really do believe that. And so I'm excited to hear what's going to happen finish up the Peacekeeper, so I can understand what's going on, and so I'll be ready for that third book. Now, what would the third book be called?
You know, I had a title. It was always going to be the title, and like we talked about earlier, the book shifted away from certain things that were going to happen and took on a new path. So I'm trying to figure out if that title is still relevant or if I need to come up with something new. So I'm sort of in a strange in-between place. I
we'll be waiting on it. The author of The Soul Mender and The Peacekeeper. Thank you so much for your time, and we have enjoyed talking to you. And this has been Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage all Texans to drop everything and read. Thank you.
Dear Texas would like to thank our sponsors. I'm Alex Anthony, your announcer. For all inquiries regarding voiceover, narration, and announcing services as heard on this program, please make contact through voxluxstudio@gmail.com, voxluxstudio@gmail, or you can call 512-537-6077. Thank you for listening and for your support. Bourgeois Media and Consulting, a book publishing consultant where creative inspiration is realized. More at bourgeoismedia.com. Thank you for listening to Dear Texas Radio. To learn more about Dear Texas and its literacy programs, please visit their website at deartexas.info. I am Alex Anthony, your announcer. Have a great